doing outreach, specifically strategies around using Loom videos, and then kind of my thoughts on the different strategies based on the platform or the channel you're doing outreach. Now, all these strategies are going to be subtle differences if you're doing cold email versus LinkedIn outreach versus Facebook outreach. Each platform or channel is going to have subtle nuances and intricacies that are going to be different and will ultimately play into the effectiveness of these campaigns in terms of conversions and efficiency on how good they do. And with anything, in the beginning phases of any outreach campaign, it's about feedback and testing. Is this messaging hitting? Am I getting replies? Are people watching the video? Whatever the objective of the initial campaign is it awareness? Is it to actually drop value? Is it to elicit a reply, right? So we're basically creating the first message in any campaign with one specific objective. If we have ancillary additional objectives that can be added into that, fine, but I don't really like that with my first message. I just like one approach or one main objective that I want out of this. Throughout the whole process of acquisition, it's kind of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for the prospect to follow. And if you try to do too many in one step, you're usually going to confuse and overwhelm. Also makes it harder to track the data of what's working and what's not. If you have one simple objective and subject line or hook, for lack of a better phrase, that's part of it, right? So one thing I would recommend is what are we doing in terms of different campaigns here? And let's just say this is a worksheet I brought up really quickly for LinkedIn and how I would show clients and what I would walk them through for LinkedIn outreach. So first I would take them through this exercise, which I don't have the time to go through it all on this particular thing. This is more about the outreach, but I go through this exercise to really craft in my messaging. So now I figure out who I'm reaching out to. In this campaign, I'm looking for what I call mutually beneficial partners. And in this case, for this particular client, we built this out. We were looking to connect with marketing agencies that are already working with new launch medical device products, right? Then we would reach out to that agency in this case and kind of figure out the gap that they solve. In this case, it was focusing mostly on brand events, conventions, trade shows, in-person events, building booths at conventions, very little with direct response marketing, and then the hook or the angle we can offer them. What if in this case, Mr. Marketing Agency, you build and run, build booths and put together the personnel and the team and the effort and the manpower to go run these events for your big medical device client. Let's just say Johnson & Johnson is the client at the end of the rainbow, but in this case we're working with the agency that's working with Johnson & Johnson and using them as a mutually beneficial partner to get in with the client at the end of the rainbow. Again, I'll make this all make sense. This is a little more elaborate than I was kind of expecting to go into, but really quickly, what if I said to that agency, hey, what if I could do this? What if I could help by running hyper-targeted ad campaigns ahead of time to ensure that the booths that, again, your team is doing all the hard work and the heavy lifting, preparing all the booths, supplying all the manpower and the personnel, displaying all the new medical device, products, signing new contracts. What if I could ensure that your booths at the next convention for your big client had double the traffic of last year's booth? Hey, Bob, if I was to drive double the traffic to your event this year, what do you think would happen with the number of contracts you sign? Well, Ray, people aren't showing up to a new, medical device conference or trade show if they're not the right type of clientele. So if you get them at our booth, double the traffic, odds are I'm probably going to close double the contracts I did last time, right? So one thing I'm trying to say is really quickly figuring out the benefit you're offering, right? With LinkedIn, I definitely wouldn't probably start with the Loom. I would usually use that in my second message. But again, that's what I need to know more to give you specific advice, whoever's watching this. Are you looking to just do outreach and drop value right off the start? Which there's ways to do that. But I like to kind of get them interest and have them raise their hand and say, yes, I would like that resource, and then go into the next step. But again, it'd be a little different, in email versus, Facebook. And if you're doing Facebook outreach, again, we can start with the Loom and, there's other YouTube videos that show you how to go ahead and do that. And I've seen them say the same thing in my take here. I don't recommend starting with Loom. I recommend building a little bit of a relationship first. So if you'd like to see anybody watching, I have a whole cold outreach DM process that is really 3 steps. How you find the person that you're targeting to send the friend request, making sure you're only connecting with targeted people, using my cold voice note DM strategy, followed by the call to action and the booking aspect of it, and then the back end, of the funnel. So I could go into that strategy. The most predominant one is cold email. So how do I create a Loom? And let's just say I was doing this for you right now. There's a particular person that asked me to film this, and I've seen a couple other people, so I'll probably be sending this out to a few people. There's probably some value here. But let's say for this particular guy. I was building a quick Loom just to do an audit, right? You asked me specifically, hey, how do I build a Loom and use it in my process to, create some value and some intrigue and people to, reach out and book a call with me or find out more about what I do. So this is what I would do if this was just cold and I had just saw your comment and looked back over your profile. And correct me if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Shiraz? I don't know. I'm just going to say Shiraz. Hey, Shiraz. So really quickly, I just wanted to shoot you this little Loom video. I was doing an overview of your funnel because it appears to me, and as your banner says very clearly, that help coaches and consulting businesses and high ticket, expert businesses convert with sales funnel and media systems, which is a great thing. I'm glad you do that. So obviously you have your profile kind of optimized for, monetizing this and for prospecting and using it for your business, right? You have a clear cover photo that says exactly what you do, which I love. You have a nice professional profile picture, something relatable, but not too over the top. So it's relatable. I like that. I always say there's kind of 4 aspects at the top to a profile that converts. Those are the first 2. Number 3 is having an intro that's very clear. And I like to make this stand out a little better. I think you can have this better. You do have the call to action in there, which obviously leaves you less options for characters, right? You only get 101. And I really don't think you need the call to action right in your intro. As long as you have them right here very clearly, they're going to see this if they're already seeing your intro. So I don't like to sacrifice characters in my bio and making this as impactful as I can just to fit in a link or a call to action. So there's 2 ways to look at it. My best formula for an intro is really quickly in a few words, what I do and who I help, and then followed by an inside joke that only my market would understand. For instance, one of my better performing bios was I help service-based businesses level up organically without needing a Russell Brunson like ad budget. Like that was a good one that brought in engagement. And I would just get DMs from my bio. Hey, I'm looking to grow my business and I don't have a Russell Brunson like ad budget. I heard you're the man to help me, right? Like things like that. So you want to create a little intrigue. And then the 4th thing is the calls to action, which right here in the bio. So I think you have those good. I went through your profile a little and your call to action right here off the cover photo. Again, content is decent. I think you can make that a little better and more engaging and have some tips for that. But then when you go into the next step of your funnel, if they don't go right to book the call, the other call to action took them to this where they can see your little 6-minute VSL approximately. And then, go into testimonials and case studies. That's great. But to be totally honest with you, Shiraz, you're at one kind of disadvantage. Where you're located in the world and your accent is not to say you can't succeed. You certainly can. And it looks like you're doing all right. But you must probably already know this. There's in-market biases. I work with a lot of done-for-you, English-speaking, US-based businesses, and they automatically get some skepticism or hesitancy when they're talking about Indian, Pakistani, Middle Eastern, even Philippine, and just certain areas of the country where there's skepticism about more scamming, less quality, right? Will my prospect relate to this person's voice, which is similar in your VSL? I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I love what you put in here in authenticity, but just a tip, I think it would perform better with AI overtones actually doing the audio on these, to be honest, if you're going after a more English speaking audience. Now, I know you're working with coaches and consultants, and by looking at your testimonials, it looks like that's more who you're going for. So if you're going to more like mass scale and cold market and looking to scale this organically, I guess you could probably do it either way. But when you're looking to take it to scale, both organically or to ads, you're going to want this to kind of convert on an evergreen type of status. And there may be ways that you upgrade or evolve this in the future. But just a tip, I would try split testing it with your voice against kind of an AI overtone voice and see which one performs better. But those are just some quick tips on what you might be able to tweak or improve in your funnel. And again, it's great what you do, and it looks like you do very well. So you're the type of person that I like to help as well, Shiraz. And again, please correct me on the enunciation or pronunciation of your name there. But yeah, so, again, I'm just kind of curious, what are you currently doing to acquire clients, and how is that working out for you? Are you doing straight organic? Are you doing email? What platform, if you're doing social media, is more relevant? Is it more Facebook? And happy to give you some more tips along the way. But again, those are just some quick tips and how I'm going to sidebar here and just quick tips and how I would come in and do an audit just based on this and then send it to the prospect. And if this dropped value or they had questions or they took some of those tips or I alluded to other value resources that they didn't quite see in here that they could reach back out to me. There's a lot of ways, if you look back at this, framework I just went through, even though it's off the top of my head, there's a lot of ways that it piques what we want to do with our content and our resources here. It piques intrigue, piques curiosity, delivers value, and offers solutions, right? If we're doing those things constantly, people are going to be coming back to us for a follow-up on this.